This one is subtle, so listen carefully. Because the most dangerous ways we abandon ourselves in love are not loud. They don't show as screaming matches. They don't come from constant fighting. They don't look like obvious abuse. They come quietly. Self-abandonment in love often starts with good intentions. You just want peace. You want understanding. You want the relationship to work. So you adjust. At first, it looks harmless. You ignore a small discomfort. You let one thing slide. You choose silence instead of expression. You tell yourself, it's not that serious. I don't want to cause problems. I'll talk about it later. But later never really comes. Because once you silence yourself once, it becomes easier to do it again. You start saying it's fine when it's actually not. You smile when something inside you is tight. You laugh things off and nobody notices. Not because they don't care, but because you've taught them that you can handle it. One of the quietest ways you abandon yourself in love is by minimizing your needs. You convince yourself that you are asking for too much, that you should be grateful for what you are getting. But tell me something honestly. Since when did basic respect become too much? Since when did consistency become an unreasonable request? Another silent way you abandon yourself is by constantly giving benefits of doubt at your own expense. You understand their mood, their past, their stress. You understand so much that your own feelings no longer get space. You no longer get attention. You become emotionally intelligent for two people. You regulate their emotions while suppressing yours. You explain their behavior to yourself so you don't have to confront the truth. The truth is uncomfortable because if you stop explaining, you might have to decide. Self-abandonment also looks like staying quiet to keep peace. You avoid difficult conversations. You avoid asking direct questions. You avoid expressing dissatisfaction because honesty might create distance. And you are afraid of that. But here is the irony. The more you avoid conflict, the more disconnected you become. Any peace that requires silence is not peace. It's emotional suppression. Another way that you abandon yourself is by accepting inconsistency as personality. You give excuses. They are just like that. They don't know how to express emotions. They mean well. But consistency is not a personality trait. It's a choice. And when someone keeps choosing inconsistency, they are telling you something. Let's talk about how this affects you over time. Because self-abandonment doesn't just stay in the relationship. It follows you. You start doubting your feelings. You second-guess your intuition. You ask other people for validation instead of trusting yourself. You say things like, am I overreacting? Am I too sensitive? You lose clarity, and clarity is replaced with confusion. Another quiet form of self-abandonment is staying because of history. The time you've invested, the memories you've built, the efforts you've already given. You tell yourself, I've come too far to live now. But staying because of history often means sacrificing your future. Time already spent cannot justify time that will be wasted. Let me say this gently. You don't owe anyone your continued suffering because of past efforts. Self-abandonment also shows hope, even when you tolerate emotional distance. They are physically present but emotionally unavailable. You feel like you are always reaching, always initiating, always trying to connect. And instead of questioning that dynamics, you question yourself. Maybe I'm too needy. Maybe I expect too much. No, wanting emotional presence is not neediness. It's normal. Here's what many people don't realize. When you abandon yourself long enough, you start feeling resentment. Not because the other person is evil, but because you betrayed yourself to stay. And resentment doesn't always come out of anger. Sometimes it comes out of numbness. Sometimes irritation, sometimes emotional withdrawal. You start checking out. You become quieter, less expressive, less hopeful. And the relationship slowly loses life. Another silent way you abandon yourself is by staying in the situation that requires you to constantly prove your worth. You feel like you have to earn love, earn attention, earn consistency. But love that needs to be earned every day is not secure love. Secure love is given freely and maintained mutually. Let me ask you something important. If you were truly safe in that relationship, will you feel the need to hide part of yourself? Will you feel afraid to be honest? If honesty feels dangerous, that's not love protecting you. That's fear controlling you. You deserve to be able to say, "This hurts me," without being punished for it. You deserve to express your needs without being labeled as being difficult. One of the hardest realizations is this. Sometimes the person you are with is not forcing you to abandon yourself. You are doing it because you are afraid of losing them. And that realization hurts because it gives you responsibility. But responsibility also gives you power. You can choose differently. You can choose honesty over harmony. You can choose clarity over comfort. You can choose yourself without becoming cold or cruel. Let me say this clearly. Love should not require self-erasure. It should not require silence. It should not require emotional starvation. You deserve to be chosen loudly, not tolerated quietly. You deserve a relationship where your presence is valued, not merely endured. If you are listening to this and recognizing yourself, be kind to yourself. You weren't weak. You were trying to love. But loving someone should never require you to abandon yourself. If this resonates with you, share your thoughts in the comments. Your honesty might give someone else courage. And if this conversation helps you reconnect with yourself, help you trust your voice again, subscribe to this channel. Subscribe and work with me. It's worth it to love without disappearing. See you in the next video.